But no regime has oppressed its own citizens more totally or brutally than the cruel dictatorship in North Korea. North Korea's reckless pursuit of nuclear missiles could very soon threaten our homeland. We are waging a campaign of maximum pressure to prevent that from ever happening.
That was President Trump discussing the threat North Korea poses during last year's State of the Union address. But that came 5 months before the president met with the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, during a summit in Singapore. Now they're getting ready to do it again. On Wednesday, representatives from the U.S. and North Korea will begin preparing for a second summit between Kim Jong-un and the president later this month. The focus will be on denuclearization, something North Korea has been hesitant to do. Over the last year, the president and his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, have claimed the North has taken steps toward denuclearization. But speaking before the Senate Intelligence Committee, Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats said North Korea remains a threat.
We currently assess that North Korea will seek to retain its WMD capabilities and is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capabilities because its leaders ultimately view nuclear weapons as critical to regime survival.
I want to bring in Gordon Chang. He's the author of Nuclear Showdown: North Korea Takes on the World. Gordon, thanks so much for being here. I think the central question, before we delve into this year, is last year, what was actually accomplished in that summit between the United States and North Korea?
Well, for Kim Jong-un, they accomplished a lot. First of all, he was able to stall longer. Also, he got legitimization, and that was really important to buttress his rule back home. So for Kim Jong-un, Singapore was a clear win. For Donald Trump, not so much, because the North Koreans since then have been building up their facilities to launch missiles, to actually upgrade their facility at Yongbin, the nuclear complex, and they've been increasing the production of fissile material, uranium and plutonium. So we have not really advanced at all. We've gone backwards, actually, Elaine.
That's alarming to hear. We just heard the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, and here's how the president responded in an interview with Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. Let's listen to that.
Your intelligence chief testified this week that Kim Jong-un is still very unlikely to give up his nuclear weapons program.
That's what the intelligence chief thinks. And I think there's a good possibility of that, too. But there's also a very good chance that we will make a deal.
I mean, is it clear, Gordon, why the president is so confident that there will be a deal?
Well, I think what he's trying to do is create this environment for Kim Jong-un to feel secure enough to give up his weapons. And, you know, that conversation between President Trump and Dan Coats is an important one because they're talking about North Korea being unlikely to give up their weapons, and they're talking about North Korean intentions. Well, yes, North Korean intentions are important, but much more important is the attitude of the U.S. president. Will the U.S. president use American leverage to get the North Koreans to a point where they have no choice but to give up their nukes? And we can do that because we have not been vigorously enforcing sanctions since the June summit. And because of that, you have the Russians, the Chinese, the South Koreans, and of course the North Koreans violating sanctions. So of course Kim Jong-un is unlikely to give up his weapons. But this is not a Kim question. This is a Trump question.
So there's one claim that the president has repeatedly made when it comes to North Korea. Let's listen to that.
When I came in, people thought we were probably going to war with North Korea. Before I was elected, everybody assumed we were going to war. It would be a vicious war. Prior to becoming president, it looked like we were going to war with North Korea. When I came in, or let's say at the end of the last administration, frankly, it looked like we were going to war with North Korea. If you remember, before I became president, it looked like we were going to war with North Korea.
All right, so Gordon, what's the reality? What do the facts actually tell us? Was the United States on the verge of war with North Korea during the Obama administration? Are we any closer to war now?
No, I think that certainly Trump was wrong on that, because at the end of the Obama administration, they had just sort of said to North Korea, look, we're not going to deal with you. We're just going to forget about you. And that really was the policy after the failed Leap Day deal in 2012. So we weren't going to go to war with North Korea at the end of the Obama second term, and that is wrong. But the point is, Trump deserves maybe a lot of criticism for his North Korea policy, but the one thing he has done is he's not let it slip. And unfortunately, when you look at previous presidents, they've just tried to let it slip because it was too difficult.
So when you look at a second summit, what is it that actually needs to be accomplished for the U.S. to look at this and for the president to be able to claim a victory or a win with the deal?
I think that he needs two things from this summit, which he's not going to get. He needs, first of all, a list of North Korea's missile and nuke facilities. Second of all, he needs a timetable for disarmament. The North Koreans have been obstinate on those, and so I don't think he's going to get them. And what you're going to have is sort of the nice optics again. You're going to have a lot of conversation. You're going to have friendly words on the part of the North Koreans and the Americans, but we're not going to really advance disarming the North Koreans. So I don't think we should have this second summit until there's a lot more commitments and progress on the part of the North Koreans to actually do what they said they would do in June of last year.
All right, Gordon Chang, thank you so much.